Hey everybody, this is John from /bash, and today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe, and ring that notifications bell so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, an entitled mother brings her particular brand of selfishness to her visit to the pet store. Let's jump right in. So this happened last Saturday, but due to work and a few other commitments, I haven't been able to post until now. I woke up Saturday morning in a really good mood. The sun was shining, my dog was cuddling me, and I had a date planned with an awesome woman I'd been flirting with for a couple of months. As 2021 has already proven, though, good things were not meant to be. After getting ready and waiting for our meetup time, I headed out to find that I'd been stood up. It sucks, but in hindsight, I probably should have expected it, for reasons I won't get into here. The reasons are valid, and while I'm still annoyed I didn't at least get a cancellation text, I don't hold any ill will and we're still on friendly terms. The day was slightly saved, however, by a friend who knows that I've always loved the ocean and have always wanted a marine and saltwater aquarium. They sent me a link to a good deal on a used tank big enough for some smaller ocean fish, $100 for a 75-gallon tank, which is an absolute steal, so I was extremely excited. I needed to patch a leak or two along a corner, but after doing so and testing it, I was confident it was functional again, and headed to the fish store to start getting things needed to set up my tank. Now, for those that don't know, it takes quite a while and a lot of time and work to get a saltwater tank ready before you can even think about putting a fish in there, including treating the water to remove chemicals, then treating to remove the chemicals that removing chemicals produces, getting the right pH balance, the precise salt content, precise enough that it's measured to the thousandths of a decimal, and finally adding live sand and rocks, meaning they have bacteria living in or on them that will help the nitrogen cycle of the tank and other things I'm not smart enough to fully understand. Oh, and a heater so it stays the right temperature. Now, I tell you all of this not to bore you with details or because I think internet strangers are interested in my dating life, or more honestly lack thereof, but so you can understand the mindset I had going into the store. I was annoyed. A bit angry because at the time I only knew I'd been stood up and didn't know the reason, and more than a little overwhelmed at the task I'd set out to do. In short, while I'm generally an easygoing guy who tries to let things slide, this particular Saturday I wasn't really in the mood to be flipped with, as the kids say, or at least I think they do. Okay, anyway, lengthy backstory that I'm sure I'll get plenty of complaints about is out of the way. On to the story you came here for. I arrived at the local fish store and before asking for help decided to browse a bit. It's important to note this fish store also happens to have reptiles for sale as well, and a side shop of exotic pets like lemurs, parrots, and other smaller creatures that are not for sale, but people can pay to feed or take pictures with, etc. It's also a family-owned shop and is known for having really nice and super helpful employees, but that's just a bonus detail. Anyway, while looking around, a few kids were asking their mom what kind of fish some were, who didn't know, so I volunteered the information to them. This led to an older gentleman asking me for some help with some fish, but after learning I didn't work there, he went about his way, no big deal. Then the chime of someone entering the store sounded, followed by the pitter-patter of little feet moving way too fast to be around so much glass, and the sigh of an exasperated woman can be heard. You know that sound that makes the Karen alarms go off in your head? Or the ones that make decently behaved kids think, wow, maybe I pushed my mom too far this time. Yeah, that one. I hear an employee asking the kid not to run, but lose interest and go back to browsing. Also important to the story, and another reason the kid shouldn't be running, you know those big koi ponds in the ground some places have? They have one here, with a small wooden bridge going over it separating the shop from the fish storage. I finally get around to asking for some help and advice on the best way to plan my tank setup. I have to do it little by little because of bad financial decisions, such as prioritizing the need to eat and having healthcare over having a savings account. This means that I will have to do the setup piece by piece. I'm fine with this. Nothing worth having comes easy, or so they say. but I'm worried that this might mean I have to change some things about how I approach the tank build. While speaking with him, I do notice the mother I spoke to earlier, with the nice kids, point in our direction to the Karen of today's subject. She walks up to us as the employee is explaining how to use a hydrometer, the device that measures the salinity of water, or I think more accurately, the gravity of the water, whatever that means. Karen says, "You, my kid wants to see your reptiles. He's back there waiting, but I won't get anywhere near those things." No excuse me, no apology for interrupting. Hell, she didn't even wait for a reply. She just spoke over the employee and turned to walk towards the fish tanks holding the bigger fish. At this, the employee gives me a look of shared annoyance, shrugs, and continues explaining to me. I guess the Karen made a round because she eventually came back and saw we hadn't moved and looked pretty mad and looked right at me. "Excuse me?" Yes, she did actually say it this time. "I believe I told you my son needs help. You can finish talking to your friend after you've done your job." At this, the employee starts with "ma'am," but trails off as I start to speak. I guess I needed to relieve some tension and replied, "Lady, I don't work here and you'd probably get more help if you tried showing some decency to people." Admittedly, even as I said this, I knew I was only going to make things worse. And for what it's worth, a small part of me did feel bad for poking a bear I knew would be other people's problem, but it just slipped through my filter and I wasn't going to back down now. Predictably, this set her off. She started going on about how it was her kid's birthday today, and since this damn hoax is still on, yet she was wearing a mask, so I'm not sure what she really believes. She couldn't take him to a proper zoo like he wanted, so they had to settle for this crap show. It's a fairly small store, so the owner and manager shows up around this time, cutting her off and asking her to calm down, explaining that I don't work there and somehow wrangling her over to the counter where she could pay for her son to feed and hold some of the animals. Surprisingly, instead of doubling down, she actually seemed to believe the owner when he said I didn't work there, not that I got an apology or anything. After this, I thanked the employee and let him head to the back to hide from this psycho, and I turned my attention to the reptile room to check out the lizards and turtles. Unrelated, but I absolutely love turtles and tortoises. Unbeknownst to myself, the employee, or apparently even the Karen, there was already an employee helping her kid who I guess learned it was his birthday. He had some balloon they give to kids saying happy birthday with the store logo, and was letting him hold some of the animals before his mother paid, or thinking she had already paid or something. I guess it's not important. What is important, however, is a noise slowly rising in volume coming from the store section. A noise that sounds suspiciously like a Karen berating an employee, or in this case owner, undeservedly. I look to the employee helping the kid to give her a warning look and see that she has handed this kid a snake to hold. Good size, too. Nothing huge, maybe 4-ish feet long, looked to be about the same size as the kid. Sorry, I'm not knowledgeable on snakes enough to know what kind it was. The kid sees me looking at the employee and I guess thinks I was looking at him holding the snake and brings it up so I can see it better. Isn't it cool? I love snakes. Yeah, do you have any? Now readers, I feel at this point it's important for me to say that I was genuinely just trying to be nice to the kid and had no malicious intent at all, truly. It was his next sentence that sparked my plan. No, my mom won't let me have any. I think she's scared of them. Okay, now I know that I was wrong for what I said next, and I'm probably even the butthole for getting his hopes up. But please remember that in the background of all of this is his mother yelling about not paying so much money and how they should be paying her kid for feeding the animals since he's doing their job. I couldn't help it. If you ever read this, kid, I'm sorry for getting your hopes up and for possibly getting you in trouble. Well, it's your birthday, isn't it? Happy birthday! You should go show that snake to your mom and ask her for one today. I bet she'd let you have one if it's for your birthday. Really? That's a great idea. Yeah, run and let her hold it. Yep, I hear it now. I'm definitely a butthole. Sorry again, kid. Anyway, the kid takes off, with the employee yelling after him that he can't take the snake out of the room and trying to chase him, but I signal for her to stop and tell her to let it slide this once. I know I said it with a pretty mischievous smile, so maybe she thought it'd be funny too, or maybe she heard what was going on in the other room. I don't know, but she stopped and watched with me, and oh, was it glorious. The kid runs full tilt towards his mom, snake outstretched to her, yelling, "Mom, look!" over and over. Her yelling at the owner didn't even seem to faze the kid. She looks over mid-rant and sees her kid running at her with this huge snake and loses her crap. Her yelling turns into a scream of terror, and she turns the other way to run away from her kid and his newfound scaly friend. But remember that koi pond I mentioned earlier? Remember how it has the bridge going over it to cross into the fish room? Yeah, she missed the bridge. Splash! She goes face first into the pond, purse and phone and all. Fish immediately scattering everywhere in fear, but some come back to investigate the splashing water just as fast as they'd ran. It was amazing. She was thrashing around trying to grab a handhold. I think the pond was only like 4 feet deep or something. She probably could have just stood up, screaming the entire time because she was now surrounded by harmless, curious koi, which seemed to be a completely new hell for her. Anyway, after getting out and yelling at her kid to put the snake down and yelling at the owner about suing them for all they're worth and just yelling in general, a very wet Karen and her kid left the store. It was a little bit quieter, but not much. We were all almost crying from laughter. Not much happened after that, though after learning it was my plan, I did get 2 pounds of live rocks for free, which saved me $11, so I was happy and went home to start working on setting up my tank. Now I know I was a butthole to use her kid against her like that, and I do feel bad for the kid, but honestly, I'd probably do the same thing again, given the chance. I visited the store on Tuesday again, and they said they hadn't heard anything from Karen, so they're probably in the clear. Not that I think she'd have any grounds to sue on. I don't know, I'm definitely not a lawyer. This is John from /bash. Please hit that like button to help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. Apparently it really helps. And subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.